Greetings, this is Reverend Yue McCormick of True Vow Temple. In this presentation, I will review the overall worldview or cosmology of Buddhism. I will speak of it in terms of the traditional teachings found in the sutras, and also in terms of how we can use it as a tool for our practice here and now. Shown here is a Buddhist diagram known as the Bhava Chakra, or Wheel of Becoming, that represents all of the vicissitudes of life, from the lowliest states of degradation and suffering to the most exalted states of triumph and joy, in a visual form that makes it easier to keep in mind. It also portrays the cycle of cause and effect that keeps us on this roller coaster of happiness and suffering. In the Buddhist cosmology represented by this diagram, there are 6 destinies, or realms of rebirth. These 6 are the realms of hell dwellers, at the bottom, hungry ghosts, bottom right, animals, bottom left, fighting demons, top left, humans, top right, and the gods, top. Beyond these 6 realms of rebirth are the 4 noble states of the voice hearers, or disciples of the Buddha, who are shown in the human realm, the privately awakened ones who attain enlightenment on their own, who are not shown, the bodhisattvas who aspire to become Buddhas, there is one in each of the 6 realms, and the Buddhas, one is shown outside the diagram on the right. Together, these are called the 10 realms. Of course, this teaching does not have to be accepted literally. The 6 paths are not so much descriptions of actual beings and geographical locations, as they are metaphors for the states of mind, habits, tendencies, and assumptions that shape our interactions with the world around us. According to Buddhism, it is far more important to take control of our lives in the present and direct ourselves toward the human and heavenly states of mind than it is to speculate about life after death. The 6 paths assist us in this endeavor by helping raise our awareness of how these different states manifest themselves from moment to moment. These are states of mind all people experience constantly. Each state flows smoothly and swiftly into the others many times over the course of a day. In his most important treatise, Contemplation of the Mind and the Focus of Devotion, Nichiren Shonin observed, "As we often look at each other's faces, we notice our facial expressions change from time to time. Sometimes our faces are full of rapture, sometimes hatred, sometimes calm, sometimes greed is manifest, sometimes delusion is manifest, and sometimes flattery. Hatred manifests the hell dwellers, greed manifests the hungry ghosts, delusion manifests the animals, flattery manifests the fighting demons, rapture manifests the gods, and calm manifests humanity. Thus, we see in each other's facial expressions the phenomena of the 6 destinies. We cannot see the 4 noble states which are concealed. Nevertheless, we would see them too if we looked carefully." The best place to begin an exploration of the Wheel of Becoming is with the rooster, the snake, and the pig chasing each other at the hub of the wheel. These 3 animals represent greed, hatred, and delusion respectively. These 3 forces poison our lives and keep us pinned to the Wheel of Becoming, in which it is impossible to find lasting self-fulfillment. The 3 poisons are the mistaken ways of relating to reality that alienate us from ourselves and others. Providing an antidote for the 3 poisons is a very important aspect of chanting Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Through chanting the Odaimoku, the blind process of impulsively giving in to the 3 poisons is interrupted, and our thoughts turn instead toward the wonderful Dharma. In a crisis, chanting Namu Myoho Renge Kyo, or even reciting it silently to ourselves, is a swift and powerful way of getting a little mental distance from the 3 poisons. When we stop to see the true nature of our lives through chanting the Odaimoku, we see that the narrow and confused selfishness of the 3 poisons has no real power over us. Now let's consider the circle surrounding the hub. There we see a group of people progressing to higher states of being, and another group of people falling into lower states, all in accord with the extent to which they allow the 3 poisons to dominate their thoughts, emotions, and actions. It is probably safe to say that we would all like to progress to higher states, but how do we do it? Striving to rid ourselves of the 3 poisons is not enough, though that is a good start. We must also foster positive emotions and healthy ways of relating to ourselves and others. Buddhism specifically teaches that there are 4 divine abodes. These are loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. They are also called immeasurable minds, because we cultivate these positive mental states by extending them to all beings in all directions without limit. They are called the divine abodes because by cultivating them, we become worthy of rebirth in the heavenly realms. The idea behind the four divine abodes is that these are the very qualities that people seek in God. Together, they correspond to the ways that other religions seek union with God. This is another aspect of the practice of Odaimoku. It is a way of reminding ourselves of the wonderful Dharma, which is the source of loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. Reciting Namu Myoho Renge Kyo allows us to establish the wonderful Dharma in our lives so that we can warmly and selflessly open up to others and realize that the greatest blessing is to be loving and peaceful in all our thoughts, words, and actions. The lowest of the 6 realms are the hells that sit at the bottom of the wheel. According to Buddhism, there are more than 100 hells, including 8 major hot hells and 8 major cold hells. These are reserved for those who, consumed by hatred, bitterness, and despair, have committed the 10 evil acts of killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, such as rape, incest, pederasty, etc., lying, harsh speech, malicious speech, idle chatter, such as gossip, giving in to covetousness, bearing ill will, and clinging to wrong views, are those who have committed the 5 grave offenses of killing one's father, killing one's mother, killing a saint, meaning those who have attained enlightenment but are not Buddhas, injuring a Buddha, and causing a schism in the Sangha or Buddhist community. It is important to remember that in Buddhism one is not thrown into hell or punished by some deity. It is the natural fruition of our causes. It is also not a state of eternal damnation, as in some Western conceptions of hell, but a temporary place of expiation, though it may seem interminable. Hell dwellers are obsessed with their own suffering. They are in a state characterized by intense anguish, so they lash out in unthinking rage and wallow in self-pity, despair, paranoia, and self-destructiveness. The hells are the fruition of misdeeds and the outward reflection of the inhabitant's own character, misshapen by their actions. The path of the hungry ghost is only slightly better. It takes up the bottom right section of the wheel. Hungry ghosts are said to have large mouths and bellies, but only tiny throats. The misdeeds that bring about rebirth in such a state are similar to those committed by the hell dwellers, but motivated by greed. Hungry ghosts are obsessed with satisfying a craving that can never be quenched. They are in a state characterized by self-destructive lust, addiction, or fixation. The desire itself has become an unceasing source of torment. These addictions can be for drugs, alcohol, sex, gambling, power, work, entertainment, or even religion. All these addictions, however, are an attempt to cover up or distract from the fundamental sense that life is suffering. The path of animals is shown on the bottom left of the wheel. Half human and half animal beings, such as the serpentine Naga princesses shown here, are also included in this realm. Those reborn as animals committed misdeeds out of delusion and neglect, and then became those beings ruled by instinct that inhabit the seas, the land, and the air. This is the path of predator and prey, territoriality, pack mentality, and rule by the alpha. It is a state of cunning, primitive aggression, and instinctive desires. Animals do not look beyond immediate gratification and pay no heed to consequences or long-term benefits. Here, pleasure and pain reign supreme over reason, and there is no sense of morality. Though not as inherently painful as the first 2 states, those in this state inevitably meet with frustration and confusion, if not outright pain and suffering. The path of the Asura, or fighting demons, is shown in the upper left of the wheel. This world is the home of arrogant demons who are obsessed with their own power, and whose sole wish is to overthrow the benevolent gods of heaven. The story of a war in heaven came to Buddhism through the Vedic myths of ancient India. This story is echoed in Greek mythology, in which the Titans made war upon the gods of Olympus. It also appears in the Bible's Book of Revelations, wherein the rebellious angels led by Satan attempted to overthrow God and were cast out by the angels loyal to God. Those who become fighting demons practice the 10 good acts by refraining from the 10 evil acts, and making a show of the 5 virtues taught in Confucianism of benevolence, righteousness, propriety, wisdom, and faithfulness. Still, their virtuous actions are all tainted by self-righteousness. The fighting demons are immensely powerful, quarrelsome, and filled with hubris. They are in a state characterized by jealousy, envy, anger, overweening pride, aggression, and an inability to compromise with others. Often, this anger-driven state is motivated by insecurity or a desperate need to overcompensate for their feelings of inferiority. It can also be driven by an overdeveloped sense of privilege and entitlement, which quickens to anger and self-justification when this self-perception is challenged. The path of humanity is on the upper right. It is attained by those who cultivated the 5 virtues, the 10 good acts, and followed the 5 precepts for lay Buddhists, or their equivalent, by refraining from killing, stealing, engaging in sexual misconduct, lying, and the use of intoxicants that cloud the mind and lower inhibitions. The human path is considered a very fortunate one that is optimal for attaining awakening. This is because reason is not overwhelmed by the sufferings and strivings of the previous 4 paths, nor are the beings here as liable to be fooled by the pleasures of the heavenly path, and they are not so removed from the obvious forms of suffering that they can afford to become complacent. Suffering is recognized for what it is, and morality and reason are called upon to ameliorate the human condition. At this point, civilized life can truly begin. It is a state characterized by enlightened self-interest, a calm and steady demeanor, gentility, and the ability to apply reason and insight to attain desired objectives for one's own sake or for those with whom one identifies or cares about. Those who are sensitive and thoughtful take the time to ponder the sufferings of birth, old age, sickness, and death, meeting the hateful, parting from what is loved, not getting what is desired, and the constant instability of the 5 aggregates, the components of existence, which are forms, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. The Buddha taught that beings can be analyzed into these 5 aggregates that constantly flow and support one another. This reflection on suffering can lead to a wish to be liberated from it, or even the arousal of the compassionate aspiration to help liberate all beings. In the path of humanity, those who encounter the Buddha Dharma and who have a clear head and strong discipline can cultivate insight and attain the path of liberation. On the wheel of becoming, among those on the human path can be seen those who are hearing the Buddha's teachings. We might also imagine that in the distance are those who are contemplating life in solitude in order to attain their own private awakening. At the top of the wheel is the path of the heavens where the gods make their abode. Those reborn in the heavens cultivated the 10 good acts, gave generously to good causes, and cultivated loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. The highest heavens are attained only through the cultivation of advanced states of meditative absorption. Unlike the Western concept of heaven, however, the Buddhist heavens do not refer to a realm of eternal salvation. Rather, they are temporary realms of bliss, wherein all wholesome desires are satisfied. The heavens are also realms of increasing subtlety and refinement, which transcend our worldly concepts of time, space, and matter. While their good fortune lasts, those in the heavens are all too prone to fall into a state of heedless bliss, accompanied by complacency and self-satisfaction. Though the heavens seem to be free of suffering, in the fullness of time the karmic merits of even the gods become exhausted, and they must come back down to earth. The only real escape from the vicissitudes and uncertainty of the 6 realms is to move into the 4 noble states, or higher realms, through the cultivation of the Buddha Dharma. These 4 higher realms are states of liberation from the compulsive cycle of rebirth among the 6 lower realms. They consist of the voice hearers of the Buddha and the privately awakened ones, who make up the 2 vehicles of individual liberation. The bodhisattvas who strive for the awakening of all beings by following Mahayana teachings, and the Buddhas who have perfect and unsurpassed wisdom and infinite compassion. The 4 higher realms, however, can also indicate levels of insight or compassionate activities that are associated with these various types of Buddhist practitioners. This broader interpretation of the 4 higher realms can be applied to anyone and everyone, even those who may not know about Buddhism or identify themselves as Buddhists. The first of the 4 higher realms is that of the voice hearers of the Buddha. This is the world as viewed from the perspective of the 4 noble truths: understanding suffering, abandoning the 3 poisons that are the origin of suffering, realizing the cessation of suffering, and cultivating the way to end suffering. Those who live in this state of mind look to others for insight and guidance, and strive to free themselves in the 6 lower realms by becoming arhats, or worthy ones. On the wheel of becoming, they are depicted as monks in the realm of humanity. The second is the realm of the privately awakened ones. This is the world viewed from the perspective of dependent origination, the principle that all things arise and cease according to causes and conditions. Those who abide in this state of mind realize the world's impermanence, suffering, and selflessness for themselves through their own observations. They appear as hermits within the realm of humanity. The third is the realm of the Bodhisattvas. This is the world viewed as a field of compassionate endeavor, specifically the cultivation of the 6 perfections of generosity, morality, patience, energy, meditation, and wisdom. Those who view the world in this way are not seeking to flee the world of birth and death, but stay within it to assist and teach others. The Bodhisattva appears within each of the 6 realms on the Wheel of Becoming as a representative of all the Bodhisattvas who appear throughout the universe to help the various beings who are suffering. The highest of the 10 realms is the realm of the Buddhas. This is the world viewed from the perspective of perfect, unsurpassed awakening. From this perspective, one can see that the world of birth and death is itself the Pure Land of tranquil light. According to the Lotus Sutra, Shakyamuni Buddha is the historical manifestation of the eternal Buddha, who is the origin of all the Buddhas who appear throughout time and space. As the eternal Buddha, the Buddha stands outside the Wheel of Becoming altogether, where he points to the wheel of the Dharma. The realm of the Buddha also represents the Buddha nature, which is our own capacity for perfect and unsurpassed awakening. Due to the Buddha nature, all the beings within the Wheel of Becoming have the capacity to awaken to the wonderful Dharma. They are all potential Buddhas. In actuality, these 2 aspects cannot be separated. The realm of Buddhahood transcends all the other states of becoming, but is also immanent within them. Each of these 10 realms contains the causes and conditions of all 10 within themselves. This means that any of the 10 contain the potential to manifest any of the others. This is the mutual possession of the 10 realms. One might say that the lower realms contain the higher realms as seeds of their future growth and maturity, while the higher realms embrace the lower realms insofar as they are perspectives that have been outgrown and yet assimilated. These are not 10 separate realms lined up alongside each other, but rather 10 different subjective modes of the interplay of causes and conditions. This means that if you change the causes and conditions, you can also change the kind of realm that is or will be experienced. This also means that the realm of Buddhahood is accessible to all the other realms, and conversely, the realm of Buddhahood can compassionately interact with the lower realms. I now bring this talk to a close. I look forward to your questions and comments. May the merits of this talk on the Dharma extend universally to all, so that we and all living beings together accomplish the Buddha way.